If you were advising the Biden campaign on how to reach out to Latinos, what strategy would you use?
But
Oh man.
no, yeah, we're not one issue voters,
Yeah.
and how racist is it to think that Latinos are just immigration voters, that we
Yeah.
only care about our president being racist? That's not all we care about. It's like the same thing that they try to do with black voters. Like
Yeah.
we have to talk about criminal justice reform. Why? How racist is it that you think that the only thing black people care about is criminal justice because what? They're in jail? Or because Latinos only care about immigration because they're immigrants?
Yeah.
It's that one thing that we're not one issue voters. I have friends who are of Mexican descent who have never ever even been to Mexico. The borders cross them.
Cool.
So for them, having something like immigration being at the top of like the number one thing that they discuss is not priority. They want to know about education. They want to know about jobs. They want to know about what's going on within our systems right now that are keeping people at such low wages. Those are the things that matter. And I think that everybody across the board is the same way. Black people think about the same thing. They want to know how our kids can succeed the best at school without being limited or their lives being dictated by their zip code. So I think that addressing those issues is equally as important than trying to target just Latinos. But one of the things that I think Biden and the Democratic Party as a whole is missing is that they really think Latinos just don't vote. So they call us lazy. They don't do anything to gain our votes. And I saw this in my race. Once I dropped out, or actually once after I lost the primary, the person who continued moving forward just didn't care about Latinos. And they said it very bluntly that they just don't vote, so they're not going to waste their time reaching out to them. And Latinos in the U.S. right now can make or break the election. So
Totally.
When somebody like Trump is reaching out to Latinos just based on, look, how racist are Democrats for thinking that you only care about Despacito, then it's like something that people are paying attention to. When he's bringing up other things like, I'm giving you guys money while the Democrats are just sitting on their hands on this relief bill, that's something that we're also paying attention to. So what is it? Because when Trump came into office, right, the lives of a lot of people in the United States didn't really change.
Yeah.
They didn't change for the worse. They didn't change for the best. They just remained the same. So for a lot of people in minority communities and disenfranchised communities, life remained the same because a president can come in and leave, and they still haven't done anything for the working class.
Wow.
So it's going to take a lot more to convince me than just playing a song on the radio or having Biden or Bernie's old team come in and try to sell Latino voters to you. It's not what it's about. I think that we need to talk about the issues that matter to us, and that's going to be Medicare for all. That's going to be a paying a living wage. Those are the issues that we want to hear, and that's definitely not what we're hearing. And that's something that Bernie was talking about, and that's why we came out hard for Bernie.
Totally. I think that something that the Trump administration kind of baited Biden into not utilizing or using AOC. I wanted to make that point. When Bernie ran and he had the heart attack, a big moment for his comeback was when AOC endorsed him. And I felt, and they had that big rally in New York City, and it was just huge. And right now, the right wing, Fox News, all they're saying is, oh, Biden's going to be a tool of AOC, Bernie, and the left, right? But in that way, that's causing them to say, okay, so we got to stay away from those people, Bernie, AOC, and the left, because that's what the Republicans are trying to paint us as. While AOC is an excellent speaker, she's of course she can relate to the Latino community. She could be the biggest champion for you, but now they're using that tactic to keep you away. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and they have absolutely baited them, and they've been very successful at doing that because what the Democratic response has been is to separate themselves entirely from AOC and Bernie. Bernie could be doing rallies for him. He could be doing events for him.
Yeah.
AOC could also be doing events for him. But they have separated themselves so much that they're actually, here's the way that I see it. They're pandering to the right. They're trying to move the dial of this disenfranchised or this mythological disenfranchised Republican voter that is just so sick and tired of Trump. But the dial hasn't moved. It barely has moved. Like, it hasn't even reached 5%. Trump still holds I think over like 92% favorability with Republicans.
Okay.
So the dial really hasn't moved. But what is happening is that on the left side, Democrats are losing the Democratic Socialists. They're losing anybody who's on the populist left side. And they're doing that in exchange for less than 5% of the Republican vote. But what they could really be doing is talking about those bread and butter issues that do matter. Like, where is our health care? Who's going to be fighting for the rising cost of these outrageous prescriptions? Who's going to be fighting for a Green New Deal to essentially build an economic structure or working on our infrastructure? Those are the things that actually matter. So if I was advising the Biden campaign, I would tell him, forget about that, bring on Bernie, bring on AOC, talk about the progressive issues that people actually do care about. Almost ignore Trump to the point where the attacks that were communists and socialists just don't hit us anymore. So that would be something that I would talk to them about. Labor is a huge one. Right now, we have our farm workers in California working under these awful conditions, but still putting food on the table for Americans every single day. Those are things that nobody's really trying to discuss. They're just going on and on about how bad Trump is. But if that's how bad Trump is, how are you any better? What are you going to do that's the opposite of him? And it's not about tweeting less. It's about, what are you going to do for the working class? How are you going to make our lives better? How are you going to close this enormous wealth income gap that we have, that we're experiencing in the U.S.?